Dear student friends, today I wish to take up fourth lecture from Transfer of Property Act 1892, that is from Property Law, Section 3 Interpretation Clause. Under Section 3 Interpretation Clause, there are 7 definitions, namely immovable property, instrument, attested or attestation, registered or registration, things attached to land or earth, actionable claims and notice. These 7 topics we have to discuss. Before going to take up the subject, let me introduce myself as Dr. Rega Suryarao, Principal, retired, Aided Law College, Fulton, Maharashtra. After my retirement in March 2018, I started delivering lectures online on various law subjects. So far, I have covered 16 law subjects. From these 16 law subjects, I have delivered so far 119 lectures. This is my 120th lecture and 4th lecture from Transfer of Property Act. This from Transfer of Property Act, I delivered 3 lectures previously. First lecture on property law, that is Transfer of Property Act. The summary of the whole act I explained. In first lecture, I explained about what is property law, what are the various branches of property law, what are the respective legislations. As a matter of fact, the title of this subject was Transfer of Property Act 1882. In recently, this title has been renamed as Property Law. So when we speak about property law, so many legislations would come under this, movable, immovable, and all these aspects I told you. If we speak about property law, so many acts are to be discussed: Contract Act, Sale of Goods Act, Hindu Succession Act, Muslim Law of Inheritance, Indian Succession Act, Negotiable Instrument Act, whatnot. So many acts are to be taught, but that is why this subject, property law, was previously entitled Property Law. Today, practically only Transfer of Property Act is being taught. So all these aspects, what are the various branches of property law, what are the various transfers, I explained in detail in my lecture number 1, various transfers and various legislations that regulate these property laws. In second lecture, I explained in brief about part 1 of the Transfer of Property Act, part 1 which dealt with general principles from section 1 to 53A in brief. In third lecture, I explained in brief various concepts, various specific transfers from section 54 to 137. In these 3 lectures, I have enlightened about the subject in brief. Now I wish to take up subjects topic wise. In fact, I wanted to take up in one lecture section 3 and section 6 in one lecture, but I wanted to that one class is not enough to explain these aspects. That is why I decided to take up one lecture under section 3 and another lecture immediately in a day or two I will take up section 6, dear friends. In this section 3, there are 7 definitions. These 7 definitions I will let you know in brief, and I will explain you in detail. So here, when we want to when we want to take up the study of any legislation, law or enactment, we come across certain words, certain terms which we find very frequently, eventually, while reading the various chapters of the subjects. So that the terms, the definitions of for easy and proper understanding of the subject, one must have idea, some overall idea about those terms. Without the idea of those terms, it will be difficult for the student to understand the subject. That is why in every act, every codified enactment, the first section 1 deals with title of the act, its applicability, and from when it was enacted and when it came into force. That section 1 will be there. In for some legislation, section 2 will be the interpretation clause, and it will contain various definitions. For example, section 2 of Transfer of Property Act is interpretation clause. It contains various definitions like offer, acceptance, consideration, like this. So similarly, Criminal Procedure Code section 2 speaks about interpretation clause. So for some legislation, so section 1 speaks about, section 1 contains title of the act. So the Transfer of Property Act 1882 or the Indian Contract Act 1872, the Indian Evidence Act 1872, that is the title. Then applicability, enactment, when it is passed, when it is enforced. Sometimes the date of passing and the date of enforceability may be one and the same, but after the act is passed, after the assent of the President of India, the act goes back to Ministry of Home Affairs, and the Ministry of Home Affairs, central government, will make a gazette publication about this. So like this, so many acts, the moment any act is assented is not final, when it comes into force is important. So like that, sometimes whole act will be notified by gazette. Recently, the Consumer Protection Act 1919 was passed in the year 2019 August, but it came into force recently. That is from 20th July 2020. So between August 19, even after the act was passed, the old law, Consumer Protection Act 1986, was to be followed. So till when this act comes into force, from 20th June, some chapters have been some chapters of new act, Consumer Protection Act 2019, came into force. On 24th July, the National Regulating Authority, Consumer Regulating Authority, was constituted like this. So that is why these aspects I told you, dear friends, in so many previous classes. I sincerely tell you, dear friends, don't neglect my classes. My classes, I should not say. If it becomes a self-serving statement, self-boasting, it's not correct. So it is very, my lectures will help you. Those students who are studying in ordinary law colleges, unaided law colleges, where there is no infrastructure, if you listen to my lectures, you can overshadow the deficit of teachers. Even those who find it difficult, who can't afford to join prestigious institutes of legal studies, national law schools and other reputed institutions, if you follow my lectures thoroughly, each and every lecture, and follow the books of your standard, certainly you will be established yourself as a candidate. You will be no more less than the student who prosecuted his studies in a prestigious institution of legal studies. That much guarantee I can give you. The thing is, you must have minimum vocabulary of English. You should be able to speak English, understand English, write English, good presentation. So dear friends, I told you several times, our law legal profession has been conferred supreme status as a, if you become the judge of High Court, can question the act of state government and can set aside the act of state government. At present, we can see the position of Rajasthan in Telangana state, and when the demolition case, how the state government was eagerly looking for the direction of High Court, whether to this thing. So see what the judiciary has been conferred such a supreme power which no authority can have. Even the mercy petition remain pending with President of India for indefinite length of time, that it will come back to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court can commute that death sentence into life imprisonment. The law passed by Parliament, both houses, approved by President of India, may be challenged. Challenged. It can be declared unconstitutional, and it can be set aside by the Supreme Court of India. When any, even High Court bench declares any government action null and void, declares unconstitutional, the state government as a whole will not be able to do anything to High Court judge. It is only Parliament by 2/3 majority can move, impeach, can do anything to High Court judges and Supreme Court, because our High Court judges and Supreme Court judges are appointed by Collegium, President of India on the recommendation of Collegium, comprising of Chief Justice of India. In his absence is whomsoever he deputes, and other senior judges. This aspect I told you in independence of judiciary and all. So such a great power has been conferred. But unfortunately, let us see. Now, suppose I am in legal profession, I have number of friends, but all the you take even 100 of my friends, may not be friends, some known persons, I know them, I am known to them. How many of their children joined law is very rare, in a single digit. So if the boy or girl is found meritorious, the parents are sending them to medical engineering, MBA, and putting them in other courses of prospects, but they are not realizing the greatness of our legal education. What a great power, what a supreme power has been conferred on our legal profession. If you witness the power of the high courts and power of the Supreme Courts, in spite of that, the Supreme Court, there is an internal check between executive, legislature and judiciary, and judiciary is ultimately enjoying supremacy in certain cases, because it can declare the law passed by Parliament unconstitutional. The High Court can declare. Recently in Andhra Pradesh, the election commissioner was discarded by the state government. He approached the court, and the court gave direction to the state government, and he is reinstated. But the state government, the action was set aside by High Court. And recently, the Telangana Secretariat demolition issue, the demolition was challenged. Earlier, High Court gave direction to demolish, and again subsequent petition, High Court ordered this government to stop demolition, and again the court directed to continue. These are various issues. So at that time, the state government was eagerly and anxiously looking for the verdict of High Court of Telangana. That is the greatness and supremacy of legal profession. But unfortunately, our parents are not showing interest in putting their children on first priority to admit in a legal education, even though it is not, even though if you feel responsibility, having opted this legal profession and joined law, whether you joined here or there, if you work hard, you will be able to come up. Let me pray God and wish you all success for your bright future in our noble legal profession. Don't think that I am telling cock and bull stories. These are only practically you can witness these things. But our law course is not that much acknowledged by the public, because we are responsible. Our parents are not putting their brilliant children in legal education. Secondly, the students who have taken legal education are not perfectly attending the classes and not doing hard work. If they would have joined medical or engineering in a prestigious institution, they would not have been behaved like this. So at least, dear friends, like your uncle or well-wisher, I am telling you, don't neglect our great law course. I try to acquire good knowledge. So law, it is very, very difficult to know in depth about even one article. Even one article in Indian Constitution, number of PhDs can be produced. So don't admit superior or inferior. No, nobody is expected to know everything about one subject, because when I go through, so don't neglect the track Suryara classes, what is there like this. But when I take up class, I after preparation from books available, I go through internet and see the articles. Very often I refer the articles of the students of law schools, even government law colleges, national law schools. Symbiosis is fine, this thing. So I must not, I am a principal retired author of so many books, I must not treat it. But when once a student is asked to present a paper on one particular subject, he works a lot. He works day and night for so many days. He refers so many books with his English vocabulary. He presents the article very well. So I must not think that why should I refer his article? I must not say, but I must acknowledge him like my guru and want to learn from him. So for even whenever I take any lecture, I refer articles. The article may be presented, uploaded in net by High Court judge or Supreme Court judge or law professor or even a law student. I don't find any discrimination. I acknowledge all of them and make use of their service and go through that. So please don't think that I am speaking of this and that, leaving the subject. As an elderly person, I am telling you, kindly give respect to our legal education and uplift the greatness of our legal education, which no other profession is enjoying. So that is why today I wish to take up a property law, transfer of property act. Actually, property act law title is not relevant so far as the syllabus is concerned. If we say that property law, movable property, immovable property, tangible property, intellectual properties like Copyrights Act and all, so many things will Sale of Goods Act, Negotiable Instrument Act, Succession Acts, inheritance, law of inheritance, law of testament section, so many things will come. These aspects I told you, but this is only Transfer of Property Act 1882 deals with only transfer of immovable property between two living persons, and it also deals with movable property in few cases. Basically, Transfer of Property Act lays down the provisions relating to transfer of immovable property between two persons. This act, as already told you, contains two parts. Part 1, section 1 to 53A contain general principles. 54 to starting from sale 137 including schedule lay down various provisions relating to specific transfers like sale, gift, mortgage, lease, exchange and all. And these topics also I will take up. Dear friends, actually I wanted to upload lectures very frequently, once in three days, but students are not showing proper interest because we are now in corona pandemic, COVID-19. We are not happy. We are facing lot of things, problems, but still, dear friends, being basically I am heart patient. My wife is kidney cancer patient. I have a lot of unhappiness, but still I want to do like this. In fact, our students show proper attention and listen to my lectures regularly and punctually. By this time I would have completed 100 more lectures, at least I would have crossed 200 lectures. I don't like to trouble you, bore you by uploading lectures once in 3 days or once in 4 days. I am delivering one lecture in 1 week. If you are if you have enough patience to watch my lecture just 1 hour, if you sacrifice just 1 hour in 1 week and watch all my lectures, you will be wonderfully benefited. I can assure you, friends. Don't neglect our law course and try to work hard and become a great lawyer or great judge. So, as I told you, judiciary constitute two bodies, bench and bar. Bench in the sense members of bench, judges. Bar means members of bar means advocates. So, the judiciary can give any direction basing on the presentation given by the advocate, and basing on the presentation applying law, judge will interpret, judge or team of judges, bench will interpret and deliver appropriate judgment. That is the power conferred on our judiciary, which I spoke to you previously. Now 1 minute, sorry for taking a lot of time, dear friends. So these words are more important than the subject. Any book you read, you will get the information. This type of advices you cannot get from everybody. So out of love and affection towards you, and out of a great ambition towards your bright career, I am doing, dear friends. Another thing is, this is in this lecture, before going to take up this lecture, let me express my a heartfelt gratitude to my godfathers, including the management, Priyadarshini Jnana Prabodhi's Law College, Fulton, Satara district. Let me pray God, pay homage to my parents, late Regapparo, Rega Kantaratnam, Salur, Vijayanagaram district, Andhra Pradesh, India. And above all, let me express my deep sense of gratitude to my student friends who are instrumental for what I am now. Here, Section 3, Transfer of Property Act, which is called interpretation clause. The Transfer of Property Act is one of the legislations. Transfer of Property Act is one of the legislation, one among various property legislations. The property laws are many. There are so many property laws, property legislations, Contract Act, Sale of Goods Act, Hindu Succession Act, Indian Succession Act, and so on. Among all, Transfer of Property Act is one of the legislations. This Transfer of Property Act was originally passed on 27th February 1882. It came into force on 1st July 1882. So Section 1 of the Act, Section 1 of the Transfer of Property Act contains title, commencement, applicability. So title in the sense, the Transfer of Property Act 1882. Commencement, from what date the law will come into force, means 1st July 1882. Applicability, to which places it applies and which places it doesn't apply. Section 2 speaks about repeal of acts. So what are the consequences? What are the consequences as a consequence of passing of this act, or explained in Constitution. So that is why if repeal of act is not there, Section 2 would start as definitions, interpretation clause. But here in Transfer of Property Act 1882, Section 1 speaks about title, commencement and applicability. Section 2 speaks about repeal of acts. Section 3, interpretation clause. Interpretation clause is Section 3 is also called interpretation clause. In this interpretation clause, there are 7 definitions, namely immovable property, section 3, para 2, instrument, section 3, para 3, attested or attestation, section 3, para 4, registered or registration, section 3, para 5, things attached to land or things attached to earth, section 3, para 6, actionable claims, section 3, para 7, note, and finally notice, that is last para, section 3, para 8. So these are the under interpretation clause 7 terms are explained. These 7 terms explanation is given. Out of these 7, immovable property, actionable claim, notice, the short notes question may be asked. Sometimes what is immovable property, what property can be transferred, what property cannot be transferred. The section 3 and 6 only immovable property may be asked. Out of these, immovable property is more important, and anyway I will explain you all these things. Immovable property, section 3, para 2 of, there are 3 definitions to this immovable property. One is section 3, para 2 of Transfer of Property Act 1882 gives definition, that is negative definition. Next, General Clauses Act section 3 clause 26 gives another definition, that is positive definition. And lastly, Indian Registration Act 1908 gives one definition, that is that contains both positive and negative, some elaborate definition. These 3 aspects we have to discuss. Coming to point, immovable property. What is immovable property? We have to state. And so, what is immovable property? Section 3, para 3 of section 3, para 2 of Transfer of Property Act 1882 defines immovable property. Immovable property, out of common sense we can understand. So which does not move is immovable property, which is moved is which is being moved is immovable property. So movable property is that property which cannot be moved from one place to another place, which cannot be shifted from one place to another place, or which cannot be transferred from one place to another place without any loss or destruction or damage or decline in its value. That is immovable property, that is under common sense, that is immovable property. Immovable property. So with those properties, land, buildings and other things are there. There are immovable property. Those properties which can be moved very easily from one place to another place are movable properties. Cars, radios, televisions, refrigerators, books, goods, commodities and all. What is good? What do you mean by goods? What do you mean by commodities? What do you mean by products? All these things I explained you in Consumer Protection Act and previous classes also. So here section 3 para 2 tells that all are immovable properties except standing timber, growing crop or grass. Standing timber, growing crop or grass. Here in immovable property, land is immovable property, we know. Buildings are immovable property, we know. But except what are immovable property, on seeing we can know. But except these 3 he has given: standing timber, growing crop and growing top or grass. These 3 are not immovable property because standing timber. So some trees are grown for some trees are grown for some furniture purpose. That is called standing timber, to make tables, chairs, doors, etc. That is they after some time, if the tree is grown, it is cut and arranged into pieces, and with that some furniture will be made. That is why that standing timber is called movable property. Secondly, growing crop, wheat, rice, sugar cane, groundnut, all these are crops are there. So after 3 months or 6 months or 8 months or 1 year, as the case may be, depending upon area to area, land to land, the crop is attached to earth, but it will be cut and it will become a movable property. So according grass we know grass is there. It is cut for gentle beasts and horses, etc. So that is called growing grass. So here, even though the standing timber, crop and grass, though they are attached to land, though they are not movable, they are immovable for some time only. After some time they will be cut and moved into some other places. By cutting and moving it another place, there is no any loss or decline in their value. That is why these three are, except these three, all are immovable properties. That is what section 3 para 2 of the Transfer of Property Act tells us about this definition. So that is. So here second definition is, this definition is negative definition. This second definition is not elaborate. Then General Clauses Act 1897, section 3 clause 26 of clause 26 gave another definition. That definition is, in General Clauses Act, immovable property, this is a positive definition. According to section 3 clause 26 of General Clauses Act 1897, immovable property shall include land, benefits arising out of land, things attached to earth, or permanently fastened to anything attached to earth. So here there is one development improvement. This is positive definition. So section 3 clause 26 of General Clauses Act 1897. So Transfer of Property Act was passed in 1882. Subsequently General Clauses Act was passed in the year 1897. There is this General Clauses Act section 3 clause 26 gave positive definition. What do you mean by these are not immovable property? The definition is given by TP Act, that is negative definition. These are the immovable properties, that is positive definition given by General Clauses Act. So what are they? Land, benefits arising out of land, benefits are the things attached to earth and are permanently fastened to anything attached to earth. So what is the land? You know what you mean by land, earth. Any cultivated land or water tanks, fish tanks, wells, all these things. So the land contains tanks, rivers, any fertile land, any cultivated land, that land containing wells, bore wells, natural wells, all these things. So the land constitutes not only the land and beneath the ground and also over the ground, airspace. That land constitutes, when you purchased a land of 1,000 1 acre, you can construct building, 1-story building, 2-story building, or 20-story building, subject to corporation, city corporation regulations. You can do it. So that is the rights you will have, subject to easement rights and lighting rights of neighbors. So that is land. So according to General Clauses Act, section 324, first land is immovable property. That's what everybody knows. Benefits to arise out of land, that is the future. So for example, these growing crop, whatever, suppose you have 10 acres of land, you have given it to some farmer for cultivation, and the income you are getting, revenue, that for giving this 10 acres land, he will take up cultivation and will give you some amount. This may be for 10 years or 20 years, and that the benefit arising, revenue from land also comes within the meaning of immovable property. Suppose you have given one property for lease. Yearly, the lease rent may be yearly or 3 months in 3 months, monthly, the quarterly, of yearly or annually. That rent from land also will be leasehold it is. So mortgage, interest is paid periodically. So like this, benefits to arise out of land. Here, So far as the benefits to arise out of land is concerned, the so-called three negative items, standing timber, growing crop and grass. So today in my land, these three are there. Growing crop, suppose there is some growing grass is there in my land. If you cut and take it for one time, it is movable property. If you enter into an agreement with me for 2 years or 3 years, 4 years, and whenever grass grows, you cut it and take it. Similarly, timber. Suppose I have mango garden. Land means land constitutes trees. When the trees are planted, whether they are for temporary purpose or permanent purpose is to be taken into consideration. It is a mango tree. If it is a mango tree, a fruit bearing tree, it is immovable property. If it is a coconut tree, its life will be for so many years. It is considered immovable property. Suppose the mangoes are cut and given for on the spot, it is movable property. If mangoes the crop is given for future few 5 years or 10 years, then it will be that fruit will become immovable property. So the grass is cut and taken once, standing timber is cut and taken once, and crop is cut and taken once. It is movable property. If the same activity is continued for future also for a few more times, that constitutes immovable property. That is what is called the benefits arising out of land. Similarly, next second one is things attached to earth. Whatever is attached to earth, that is immovable property. Trees, shrubs. What do you mean by trees? Trees, we know when there are various kinds of trees on this earth. Some trees are meant for several years, some trees are meant for a short period. If a tree is there for short period, after the purposes of it is cut and taken, it is a movable property. If the tree it is for long purpose, it is permanent. Coconut tree and some other trees are there. It is immovable property. Mango tree, fruit bearing tree. It is fruits are movable property for one time. If fruits are for continuously, it is immovable property. But this mango tree is immovable property. So like this, shrubs. What do you mean by shrubs? Shrubs means plants. Some plants. In parks we see so many kinds of plants. They are for to attract the viewers, with containing beautiful flowers, and in Ramoji Film City and other places, the shrubs are cut in very stylish way, in elephant styles, peacock styles, like this. Very beautiful flowering is there. Wonderful plants are there. They are called shrubs. There are 27 kinds of shrubs. If you check Google, you will be able to see them physically. So trees, shrubs and other things, land. And another thing is things embedded in earth. So land, things attached to earth. Things attached to the trees, shrubs. Things embedded in earth. Buildings. Not only whatever things are embedded in earth. Walls, that is walls are there embedded in earth, and buildings are embedded in earth. Your wall cannot be moved from your place to another place, when your own house cannot be moved from your place to another place to which you are transferred, but the buildings, walls and others are embedded in earth. Wells are embedded in earth. Pump motors are embedded in earth. Wells are embedded in earth. Fish tanks, these all the things are embedded in earth. These are embedded in earth. So next thing is, so whatever items that are pasted permanently to the things embedded in earth. So your building is embedded in earth, that is immovable property. But whatever constructions are there, doors, windows, cupboards, or which are fixed permanently in the home, they cannot be removed. They come within the meaning of immovable property. Suppose ceiling fans are there, they are fixed forever, they will not be moved. They will become immovable property. Woodwork is there, it is immovable property. In some houses, even beds, double cot beds also are fixed to the floor permanently, they cannot be moved. in some flats, recent flats, they are also immovable property. Whatever constructions are, whatever attachments are made in the constructed building, which would never be removed and fixed for permanent basis, whatever electrical cupboards, whatever it may be, they are deemed to be immovable property. That is immovable property. So these are the various things. So land constitutes not only surface of the land, but also underground, but also towards airspace. You can construct a building of any number of stories subject to permission from the municipal corporation of your area. So that is similarly, there are some examples. Rent from houses, periodical rents from houses, arranging out of land, house rent, shops rents periodically, revenue from agriculture, right to collect luck. Luck means that is sealing purpose material, right to collect luck from trees for continuous period, that is so many times, that is this thing. Toll gate entry, toll gates free, and entrance fees of some temples and others, all these come within the meaning of they are for future interest, the things to arise out of land, these are also come within the meaning of this thing. So things attached to earth, trees to shrubs, excluding, and when trees to shrubs, we are speaking about trees to shrubs which are for permanent intention. If they also standing timber, growing crop and grass, which is activities for one single time, they are not immovable property but movable property. So these are the things embedded in the earth, walls, buildings, minerals, gas, oil, gas, minerals, and all these things will be, yes, things pasted in the sense, doors and other woodwork and all these things also will come under this. So the first definition, Transfer of Property Act section 3 para 3 gave negative definition. All are immovable properties except standing timber, growing crop or grass. And this General Clauses Act section 3 clause 26 tells you land, buildings, whatever attached, whatever are embedded in earth, whatever attached to the buildings and all construction, all come within the meaning of this thing. That is the definition. So first definition is negative definition, that the standing timber, growing crop and grass are not immovable property, they are movable property, but all are immovable property. In the second is whatever are immovable property is explained here. Third definition is given in Indian Registration Act. Indian Registration Act. So according to Indian Registration Act, the Indian Registration Act. So Indian Registration Act section 2 clause 6 of Indian Registration Act 1918. This is latest some recent act. Transfer of Property Act 1882, General Clauses Act 1897. But this Indian Registration Act 1908 section 2 clause 6 of Indian Registration Act. Dear student friends, I told you all legislations will have interpretation clause. In interpretation clause, definitions are there. In some acts, section 2 is interpretation clause. Some acts, section 3 is interpretation clause. The interpretation clause contains definitions of various terms used in this. So this Indian Registration Act has given some covers both positive and negative. It said land, buildings, ferries, fisheries. So this immovable property includes land, building, hereditary allowances, right of ways, easement ways, easement rights, lights, ferries, fisheries, or any other benefits arising out of land and things attached to earth, but not standing timber, growing crop and grass. So this Indian Registration Act covers both negative and negative. So here it added some more things. So what is land, buildings already covered. Hereditary allowances in the sense some there will be some hereditary means in UK the king is the king or queen will be the hereditary monarch. In India the president is elected every 5 years, but whoever is in some countries the king or queen will be the crown. So the crown will be the ultimately the crown should give ascent. So that is hereditary. Some in some temples, some hereditary, some Tirupati, the TTD, Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam, Tirupati are so many Devasthanas. Some hereditary Dharmakarta will be there. So that person is entitled to certain revenue from out of the income of the temple. That is called hereditary. That comes under immovable property. Remove easement rights. Easement rights means suppose my land is eastern side, your land is western side, followed by road. If I want to enter to my land, I must enter through your land only. What property cannot be transferred in easements, I will explain this right. But you cannot say that if I want to enter into my land, I must pass through your land only. You cannot say that you should not pass through my land. So my right over your land to come to my land is called easement right. Dominant heritage, servient heritage, and all these things I will tell you. So that right is called easement right. That is called right to way. Right to light because you are residing in a house, but beside your house a big multi-storied building is being constructed, and because of that multi-storied building there is no any lighting to your home has got dark, then you can institute an action against the court for injunction. So that right also will be there. That is includes immovable property. The ferries means passing through ferry means in some cases if you cross the canal, the distance will be very short. If you go around if you go around by road, it will take so many hours. For example, I give you an example. In Bombay, Gateway of India, from Gateway of India to Raigad, if you go by boat, it will take just half an hour. You can reach that Raigad place. If you go by bus, it will take 3-4 hours to reach Raigad, because that bank Raigad, this bank Bombay, so Mumbai. So like this, that right is called ferries. Whatever income and all, it also comes within the meaning of immovable property, fishing right and all. So this Indian Registration Act 1908 covered not only positive definition but not only negative definition but also positive definition. In addition to that, it added so many things: easements, that is rights of ways, rights of lighting, ferries, fisheries, and all these things it is covered, and it can be accepted as a better definition when compared to this. So these are the various issues relating to the movable property. Is movable property, immovable property. Section 3, para 2 of this thing, TP Act, General Clauses Act, and Indian Registration Act. These three. Yes. So there are two cases: Marshall versus Green. In this case, it was held that trees, standing timber, if trees are cut for one time and to be taken away for timber, it is movable property. If the trees are cut and taken, it is movable property. If the trees are to be cut and taken in future also, it will be movable property. In this particular case, there was an agreement between the parties to cut the trees and take, and it was claimed as movable. For the dispute arose referring to movable property or immovable property. But when once the trees are to be cut and taken, it is only movable property. One transaction, it is movable property. If as and when trees grow and cut and to be taken, it will become immovable property. So fruit bearing trees, the life of fruit bearing trees, mango trees or something will be for so many years. Mango trees, fruit bearing trees, they are a immovable property. The mangoes in summer season, April, May, they are to be cut and taken for one time. It is movable property. If there is an agreement between the landlord and purchaser to take the fruits, mangoes, for 5 years or 3 years, it will those fruits will become immovable property. So this is there is relevant case on this point is Sini Chettiar versus Santhanandan. Madras High Court said that right to cut trees for 4 years constitutes immovable property. Right. So when it requires registration, it requires registration. So every immovable property must be the transaction of immovable property. When immovable property is to purchase, it must be registered, At the time of passing the reject, subsequently, if the value is 100 rupees, it should be registered. But we don't get any property for 100. Nowadays, properties only, immovable properties in lakhs and crores only. So that is why if immovable property, sale of immovable property must be registered. All these things I will explain in due course. In what property can be transferred, what property cannot be transferred, I will tell you. And the specific transfers, sale, gift to mortgage, and all these aspects also I will take up. So I have to take up one by one, dear friends. But my speed will be depending upon the response of my friends. See, I gave consent to advertisement not for any income, but to get my lectures are lengthy lectures. The student may feel relaxed. So to get any income from these video advertisement, there must be lakhs of views and millions of views, which I cannot expect in my lifetime. But after my lifetime, I cannot say. But so far, I have in the last 2 years, I have uploaded 190 lectures. In the last 2 years, almost all lectures are around 1 hour and above, and I have not received even 1 rupee. Dear friend, I am doing this service. Please note that absolutely on service motto. I don't have any ambition or appetite to expect money, but my effort will be fructified if you are gracious enough, kind enough to make use of my lectures, and if you that is enough. If you encourage my lectures, it will be enough. Dear friend, next immovable property definition is over. Next important definition is instrument. Others are simple. Instrument means this term instrument. The term instrument, section 3, clause para 3 of Transfer of Property Act 1882 defines the term instrument. The term instrument means any legal document by which a transferor transfers the title of the property to the transferee. So when one person wants to transfer his property to another person, it must be transferred through some instrument. So transfer of movable property or immovable property it may be oral or writing. So oral or writing, but sometimes it is oral, sometimes it is writing, sometimes it is through instrument, sometimes it is attestation is necessary, sometimes it is registration is necessary, not, depending upon the nature of the transaction. When any movable property or immovable property is to be transferred from one person to another, orally it can be transferred, by possession it can be transferred in some cases, by possession it can be transferred from some cases, but for some things registration is compulsory, written instrument is necessary, attestation is necessary in some cases, and registration also is necessary in some cases. It depends upon the nature of contract. Suppose any TV is purchased, possession is enough, there is no any instrument. For if it is taken in installment, a TV or a fridge, written instrument is necessary. For that written instrument executed, some attestation of witnesses is necessary. So depending upon the nature of the transaction, sometimes mere oral or transfer of possession is enough. For something written instrument is necessary. For sometimes that written instrument acknowledgement is attestation is necessary. Some cases registration is necessary. For movable properties, 2-wheeler or 4-wheeler, registration is compulsory. Otherwise, there is no value for sale of that. So immovable property registration is necessary. Suppose if any house owner gives you a possession of the house without registration, we cannot accept. For land, buildings, everything registration is necessary. So for instrument is a document that transfer the title or possession of a movable or immovable property to one person to another person. The instrument is a document in writing by which the title of the property, movable or immovable, is transferred from one person, but it is not testamentary. Testamentary means will. What is will? I explain you in succession. In family law also I explained you. In introduction class also I told you. So when property is transferred from living person to one living person to another living person, it is movable property. Immovable property, mainly TP Act is applied. If it is movable property, Sale of Goods Act is Sale of Goods Act is applied. If the property is transferred from deceased person to living person, dead person to living person, the law applied is succession. If it is if there is a will, if the property is transferred from deceased person to living person, so the law is a testamentary succession. So law if that will is called testament. So if the property is transferred from dead person to living person through will or testament, that is called testamentary. But that will or testament, we cannot call it as instrument. That we cannot call it as instrument. If the instrument relates to transfer of property between two living persons only, it is used. It is not at all a will. It is not at all a will. This is what you have to remember, dear friend. So that is why will is this instrument is a non-testamentary testament by which the title of the property, movable or immovable, will be transferred from one person to another. One person to another. This is section 3 section 3 para 3 of Transfer of Property Act. Next, attested or attestation. Attested or attestation. Attestation is a process. Attestation or attested. Attestation or attestation is a proof that some particular document is genuine document. It is signed by right person. That is attestation. Attestation means attestation is a process by which the genuineness of a document is visualized. The genuineness of a document is communicated, stating that document is signed by right and appropriate person. Right and appropriate person. Suppose I am the owner of the house. I am giving sale deed. I should sign. But an unknown person in family member should not sign in my name. So whether I have signed or somebody on my name without my knowledge signed, the other party should know. But if there are two witnesses, they are called attesteds. They are called witnesses. If it is signed by two or more witnesses, it is called attestation. So the attestation takes place in so many ways. When I was in schoolhood days, in those days, Xerox was not there. If any certificates are after 10th standard, 12th, 11th standard to apply, there were the documents were to be typed, they were attested by the gazetted officer. Similarly, today for pension and others, life certificate is required. The life certificate is issued and attested by some gazetted officer, government expert. Attestation in the sense whether the seller, who is having a title over the land or immovable property, has signed it or not. That is, in order to the buyer to get confidence on buyer that the seller has signed it, he is the real owner. For that, attestation of two or more witnesses is there. Suppose I am selling my land. Suppose I am giving my copyrights to some publisher. When I am signing the agreement, publisher is signing the agreement, I should sign in the presence of publisher should sign in the presence of me, and in our both presence, two witnesses should sign. One witness from one side or other from another side, and these are things that process is called attestation. When one side document is similarly, if we take any affidavit, if we take any stamped document in court or MRO office or any other thing, whenever that document is prepared and executant is signed. Suppose I am selling the property, I have signed, I am called executant. Who sign on the document are called witnesses. So the witnesses should be there. It will be a register. So sometimes the document promissory note. When I take 1 lakh loan from a lender, I sign it. I am called executant. So but that man also will take it. Whether thereafter I may say no, it is not my signature. I may cheat him. But for that purpose, two witnesses will be there, they will sign. Suppose in future when my creditor claims 1 lakh from me with interest, if I say no, it is not my signature, we can bring the witnesses that he has signed. For that purpose, attestation is necessary. Some the life certificate, death certificate, and some other things, it should be attested by the government or authorized signatory. For that also attestation is necessary. When we take up any affidavit or any other document in a court or executive magistrate office, these attestation process are necessary. So this is the position with reference to attestation. So after Amendment Act of 1926, Amendment Act, some conditions are imposed. When attestation, a document to be genuine and to be trusted, the two or more adult witnesses must be there. They must be competent within the meaning of section 11 and 12 of Indian Contract Act. They must be major. They must be of sound mind. They must not have disqualified by law from the disqualified by law, like insolvent, convict or alien enemy, like this. So they need not be educated. Even illiterate can be can act as a witness. Then once the witnesses should sign in the presence of executant should sign in the presence of witness, and two witnesses may sign on different occasions separately in the presence of executant. Then when once signature is signed, the witnesses can take acknowledgement from the executant, and these are the witnesses should in the presence of executant should sign in the presence of witnesses. If two or more witnesses can sign different dates, not at a time. These are there is no any prescribed form of attestation. The attestation can be made in any form as per the convenience of the parties. When a witness wants to sign, he should not be a party to the contract. Suppose it's a sale deed, he should be in either seller nor buyer. He should not be a party, and he may be somebody known to seller or buyer, and then it can be done. So this is the position with reference to attestation or attested. Attestation is a process by which the genuineness of a document is communicated to the other party. In attested, a document is said to be attested if it is signed with. Similarly, when an amount is deposited in the bank will ask some nominee. That nominee is to be attested by some known person. Suppose in postal, if any amount is deposited, then there will be a column of witnesses. That witnesses' name should be mentioned. So otherwise, there is a possibility for misuse. So attestation is done for various purposes. Next one is if attestation is not there, it is not enforceable. Qualification of attester means the attestar must be the attestors or the witnesses must be competent to contract within the meaning of section 11 and 12 of Indian Contract Act. They need not be qualified. A case law. What happened? Kundanlal versus Mushar. Pardanashi woman. In this case, the document was signed by Pardanashi woman, Muslim woman. They closed their body. Only eyes will be seen. So it was signed behind the curtains. She was the executant of the document, and she signed in the presence of witnesses, and it was challenged. She could not be seen properly, but the court said that by virtue of their religion, Pardhanashin's signature can be done in a closed face, covering pardas, and that is why the signature made by Pardhanashi woman in the behind curtains before witnesses was found valid. And another thing is Santlal Mastan versus Kamala Prasad, mortgagor. So here there is a mortgage deed executed by the parties. The mortgagor signed the document on 8th April 1927. The attestation was attestation witnesses signed it on April 2017. So mortgage signed on one day, attestors signed on another day after 4 days. It was challenged as invalid, but the court said no. Whether it was signed, attestors or witness signed in the presence of executant or not is enough, and executant should sign in the presence of attestor is signed. If they are done on different dates, there is no any problem, still it is valid. So really, so far as the distance between English law and Indian law is concerned, so far as this attestation is concerned, in English law insists more two or more witnesses, but Indian law even one witness also is enough. And the rules of attestation in English law are rigid and strict. The rules of attestation in Indian law are liberal and flexible. Liberal and flexible. So these are the next one is registration or registered document. Registration or registered document. So registration or registered documents mean for any transfer of any movable property or immovable property, the contract will be complete only on completion of registration only. Some movable properties registration is not necessary. Some movable properties like two-wheeler, four-wheeler, registration is necessary. Registration is necessary. And dear friend, time is over. Remaining topics I will take up in next class. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.